Hey everyone, and welcome back to Question Everything, where we question everything. So, without further ado, let's get on into this video. What is conscious and unconscious bias? That is a good question.
Question everything, question everything, question everything, question everything. Why? Disclaimer, I am not an expert on these subjects I discuss in these videos. I only share information that I've personally done my research on, or relaying an expert's message. My goal or intention with these videos is to cultivate understanding, awareness, and acknowledge real-life issues that we as humans face. I do hold certain opinions about these subjects, and so bias can play a role in the way information is shared. I would also like to acknowledge that the way we perceive the world individually can be vastly different from one another, and that's good. However, it's also good to look at things from another perspective when learning about reality, otherwise our biased views can become harmful.
Bias is a prejudice in favor of or against one thing, person, or group compared with another, usually in a way that's considered to be unfair. There are different kinds of biases, such as implicit and explicit, but they both can have positive or negative consequences. The most prevalent is unconscious bias, which is the attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, action, and decisions in an unconscious manner. This is often incompatible with other ways of thinking and can create cognitive dissonance when being made aware of these thought processes or analyzing our own behaviors. Conscious bias is essentially the same, only we're much more aware of those thoughts. Furthermore, knowing where they come from can help us address and solve these issues. Unconscious biases are developed early in childhood and affect behaviors. However, they are malleable and can be minimized, which is good news! Remember that literally everyone has implicit biases, and there's no exception to the rule. The difference is whether one is willing to work to improve themselves, which in turn improves their relationships with others socially. Some examples of unconscious bias in others can be ageism, attribution, beauty, confirmation, conformity, contrast, disability, height, gender, name, neurodiversity, racial, weight. All those are biases. You can literally have a bias against anyone for any reason, basically. Now, some examples of my own conscious biases are against older, straight, white, men, or people who wear American flags, guns, or certain religious symbols. I automatically assume, based on first glance, that someone of that description might commit a hate crime, or be ignorant of history or science, or disrespect other people's feelings, or be prone to violence and selfish behavior. On the other side of this, I also have an affinity bias. So people that look or act like me, or have similar beliefs, I assume are respectful and good people without even knowing them or their past. These are all harmful because I am not basing them on facts, but on assumptions from my past experiences. My conscious biases hit a number of the aforementioned examples, and so does everyone else's. Now, this is all based on stereotypes, without even interacting with the individual, so you can see how making that quick assumption doesn't allow us to see an individual as they are, and only the image of what they're assumed to be.
It's time for a mindful moment. We can take a moment to check in with ourselves.
Why do you always have to get so political? You know, that's interesting. I don't really think of a lot of the positions that I hold as being inherently political. You know, when a mass shooting happens, I don't think that we should have common sense gun law reform because I'm trying to score points for a particular political team. I just see a problem and feel like we should be interested in doing something, anything, to show that we give a shit about addressing that problem. You know, during a global pandemic, I'm not advocating for masks and vaccines because I'm trying to own conservatives. I'm advocating for those things because there is a clear threat that is facing everyone, and I'm trying, again, to be solution-oriented. I don't think we should abolish police because I'm trying to make moves on some political chessboard. I just see a corrupt police force that has a long history of disproportionately brutalizing and incarcerating communities of color, and I feel like we should do something as a society to address that problem. Virtually every single one of the stances that I take online that people call political function more or less this way. I just feel like we have to get out of this team mindset, you know, this us versus them stuff. Yeah, you know, I agree with you. I wish we could all get on the same page and be pulling in the same direction, and I feel like in order for us to be able to do that, we would all have to be able to agree that at a base level, human beings deserve a certain amount of rights and respect and dignity, just at a starting point, you know? And if we can't all agree to that, then we're going to wind up with a situation where we've got ideologically opposed teams that are pulling and advocating for different causes and different beliefs. I mean, do you feel that we can get everyone across the political spectrum to agree that people at a base level deserve a certain amount of respect and dignity and equitable treatment under the law? Probably not. Right.
If you grew up like me, aka with no training in philosophy, you probably think there are 2 points of view we can apply to everything in life. Something is subjective or it's objective. I like rice. That's subjective. Rice exists. That's objective. And as with so many things in life, that particular way of thinking is completely wrong and very silly, and it means we all go through life making very stupid things up all the time. That's not your fault. That's what we're taught, and it's satisfying and easy. There's a world inside me. There's a world outside of me. There's a barrier betwixt them. Never the twain shall meet. But there is a third option. A secret little liminal space called the intersubjective. And basically, that just means all our shared delusions. But without that knowledge, it's easy to make a lot of first thought mistakes. For example, I believe in God. My love of God is subjective. I didn't make God up. There are churches. Other people are worshipping God. Therefore, God exists objectively. You see where this is going? But you can apply that to so many things in life which exist intersubjectively. This coin exists, it's subjective. I see people use coins, therefore money exists. Except they don't, and it doesn't. They are literally and objectively just pieces of paper, just pieces of metal, just arbitrary numbers scrolling across a screen somewhere that we intersubjectively have decided mean value. If you stop believing in money, it continues to hold value. If you stop believing in the state of California, it still exists, though of course borders are intersubjective. A vast amount of how our society works is intersubjective. I was going to list off a long line, but you get the idea. Interestingly, some people think that it is our idea of the intersubjective, our ability to share concepts of things which are fictional, which is what allowed us to work together to build large societies. Before the ability to work together to a common imagined goal with intersubjective things such as value, we'd all just be warring tribes, innit? Fighting over resources, occasionally getting together for a nice beer. I think I've been sidetracked. Anyway, intersubjectivity, that's a thing.
Although this is not an excuse, merely an explanation of the origin, stereotypes are rooted in the primal aspects of consciousness, as a survival tactic. Our brains are hardwired to make quick judgments about something or someone to keep ourselves safe. It doesn't excuse them, of course, since we've evolved far beyond needing that reflex as much as we used to. The next question should be, how can we combat or unlearn these biases? It's a pretty easy and simple solution. Ask questions, learn more about the individual or their past, and allowing room for empathy, sympathy, and removing room for assumptions. So sit down with your biases and actually analyze and break them down. We all have them, positive and negative. Denying that or being ignorant of them will almost inevitably lead to negative consequences for the people that it's directed against. Someone could miss out on a job opportunity, or be left out of a social gathering, or face unnecessary obstacles that needn't be there. Overall, what can this lead to? Building diversity and trust in social settings. If the norm is black and white TV and someone creates Technicolor, with an open mind, people are willing to give it a try. People who have only been used to black and white TV will want it to stay that way and see it as a threat to their social norm. Those who grow up with colored TV will be more used to and more understanding of it. Don't knock it until you understand it. I could have used an actual example, but metaphors are nicer. And finally, once we start breaking down our own biases and see them for what they are, we'll start to realize that we have far more in common than we have differences. Unifying society and also being diverse in all areas can help us tackle larger issues. Systemic racism, internalized homophobia, ableism, sexism, classism, and many more. Being open to understanding and empathizing, it can rally us into social causes, which can improve the lives of many minorities and ease people struggling overall. Doesn't that sound great? This won't be easy to face, and growth isn't typically a pleasant experience, but it's necessary to go forward in life lest we remain stagnant and wither our spirits. And that's all, so thank you for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to give it a like, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know down in the comment section below. So join us next time where we'll be talking about autonomy and agency and how they correlate to crimes and sins. Because I feel like we're getting into the nitty-gritty, juicy details of human nature and politics. Yes, I try not to go too political, but when basic human rights are being made to be a political statement, it's hard to do that, you know, because I'm an advocate for human rights, or just the rights of any living creature. Consent. Anyway, that's a whole different topic. Have a fan-freaking-tastic day, and don't forget to question everything.